Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope you all can hear me. Let me know if we've got sound. I tried to work on it over the morning. I got up early this morning. Early this morning. Please tell me you guys can hear me. I hope that you can. I have a little bit of a cold. So, good evening, Deborah. I see you out there, and good evening to everybody. I do have sound. Come through. Oh, y'all gonna make me get up and buck right here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Joanna G. I have a chest cold that's pretty serious, but I appreciate you all coming out to be faithful to this space and to this time. I appreciate you. I see you, Phoenix System 80. Good to see you. A little distorted. Okay, let me back it down a little bit. Is it still distorted, Rebel? Good evening. Good evening. Ginger lemon tea. That would be great, Chef Nobi. I just happen to be in the midst of Snowmageddon, so I can't get out, and I don't have any here. So let me tell you how the Lord worked that. Rebel, let me know. Did that correct it at all? All right, now. I'm gonna tell you how the Lord works, because to my knowledge, I didn't have anything for chest cold, and so I was just kind of lying there suffering, if you will. And I called my friend Deborah. She knows what I'm talking about. LaWanda Baskerville. Good evening to you. So much love. Now, it kept coming to me to go to my medicine drawer and just look in there, and I'm like, I don't have any chest medicine. I had some other stuff that I'm aware of was in there, but I didn't have any chest medicine to my knowledge. Child, do you know? Let me tell you how God works. I went and I was obedient. Even though in my mind it's like there is nothing in there, but I'm going to be obedient and go and look. Child, do you know I went over there? There was a brand new box, had never been opened. Excuse me. Of Mucinex. And y'all, excuse me. My apologies for the coughing. But when I tell you, my friend Deborah Gibbs and I at 5 o'clock this morning, we were like, honey, God put that in the drawer. That's the kind of God I serve. He'll put something in there that's not even in there to take care of you. But you've had that happen to you. Listen, I promise you, I do not at all remember buying this medicine, but it was in there, brand new, and I've been taking it all day, so I'm a little bit. Sisterin, stirs the soul. Come on in here. Good to see you. I'm happy to see all of you. Yes, Chef Nobi, I'm gonna have to cough, and I'm working to get that stuff out, quite frankly. So there you have it. Now, as I said on yesterday, I was gonna go back and recap, but I'm not, because if I recap, we will be forever trying to go through and get through with the teaching. So even though I said that on yesterday, let me retract that statement. MCP 812, I see you. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. Yes, he will. So I love him for it. I love him for it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move right on. I see some of you all talking to me down here. Shelly Thunder, bless your mother. Oh, come on. I love you. I love you. All right. Now, I'm going to jump right in and let's go to the 3rd chapter of Genesis. Now, for anybody that's new, this format is a little bit different than my normal format because this is a Bible study. And the goal is to go from Genesis to Revelations in the course of this study. So, and it's done in chronological order. So I've asked some of you to get Tyndale's basic chronological Bible. It looks like this, 1 year chronological Bible, and it's all broken up into days so that you can get all the way through it in 1 year. I also have a study guide that I've asked you all to get as well. The Bible study guide, 1 year beginner's chronological guide to the Bible. And then also for those that are advanced, come on, yours is on the way. For those that are advanced, I'm inviting you to go out and get the Reese's Chronological. And the Reese's Chronological is much more advanced. And this is the study guide that I have. You can get that study guide over in Discord. It is there for you. So, again, I'm not going to go back and recap. Once we get a decent stream, you'll be able to go back and watch it on demand. Now, those first few days were rough, so I'm not going to put those on demand because they're just so rough. But hopefully from this point moving forward, we'll be able to put it where you can get it on demand and go back on your own and watch it. But I said if I go back and recap every day, we never will get through. So that's where I am with that. Now, I want you all to go to the 3rd chapter. We're going to wrap up there and going into the 4th chapter. And I am going to jump right on. We already talked about corrupted psychology. When they sinned, what did they say? They were naked and they were ashamed. But they had been naked the whole time with no shame. They'd been naked the whole time with no sin. They had been naked the whole time with no negativity whatsoever. But once sin entered, then they had a corrupted psychology in the way they thought about themselves. So now I even want to bring this point. A lot of times we hear the conversation about God not being able to look on sin, and he can't stand sin, and all of that teaching. And I want to remind you, I've said this before many times in my teachings. God came in the garden to have fellowship with them just like he always did. God did not change anything about his behavior. I want y'all to pay attention to that, because at the end of the day, the grace of God, the mercy of God is such that even when we fall down, God does not discard us and turn his back on us like, I just cannot look at them in their state of sin. God came just like he did every single day prior to their disobedience. And that's critical. That's a big point, because I want you to see the love of God that transcends your misses, your mess ups. And for some, the term sloppy agape, God, y'all just make it. Well, listen, I want you to look at the truth of the matter and the reality that God came looking for Adam and Eve, just like he always did. Adam and Eve, because they had corruption of consciousness, corruption of psychology. Come on in there. Good to see you. I'll say once more and again, I'll acknowledge everybody at the end of the stream, because once I get into teaching, I want to teach, but I don't want you to feel that I'm overlooking you. Now, so we see God coming into the garden to have conversation with Adam and Eve, just like he always does. No change there whatsoever. I want that to give you peace, because some of you feel like I've missed the mark, I've messed up, and God is just looking at me with a balled up fist and ready to cast me away. No, he's not. The same. He came looking for them. And I want you to know that in your worst times, in your mess ups, God's going to come looking for you too. Now, we get to this point where we recognize that there is a consequence for their choice. Now, their choice was corrupted. It was a corrupted psychology. I told you all yesterday, their mind was not thinking right. Their mind had gotten corrupted, just like a virus in a computer system, and that virus spread. Okay. And so ultimately the issue is, and hear me when I say this, the issue is they now knew good and evil. They now knew, prior to the corrupted psychology, the corrupted mind, they knew the good. They knew the wholesome. They knew the positive. They knew the spiritual. They knew having conversation with God in the garden. That's what they knew. Now that they have a corrupted psychology, they hid themselves. Why? Because they're ashamed. They're ashamed. And that's the first we start seeing negative psychology come in the picture. They're ashamed. So I want you all to see that for many of you that struggle with your personal esteem, for many of you that struggle with who you are and where you are, and it's not in a good light, I want you to understand this is what I'm calling corrupted psychology. Your mind has been corrupted. Now, because listen, at the end of the day, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. At the end of the day, there's no reason for me to hide and be ashamed. As I said on yesterday, nakedness and transparency, especially with God and yourself, is the best place you can be. Let me say it again. Nakedness and transparency with God and yourself is the best place you can be. So I want you to, whatever you have to do to get back into that flow of eliminating that corrupted psychology that has taken over. And you're going to see more of this even in today's study. We're going to go on to Cain and Abel. But we look and we see here, the woman saw the tree. It was good. She ate. She gave Adam. He ate. Now, This is the thing that I've always said since I was a child. When they sewed the fig leaves together, I mean, when I was a little kid, the question that came to my mind was, what's going to happen when the fig leaves dry up? They're just going to have to keep going and getting fig leaves and going and getting fig leaves and going and getting fig leaves and going to get. And what I'm saying there, you're looking at a temporary solution to a situation that is not going to meet correcting that corrupted psychology. So what we needed to do was to address that corrupted psychology, but that temporary band-aid, that temporary cover-up was, let's get some fig leaves and sew them together and see what we can do. So at the end of the day, that temporary, and I'm going to say this, we talked about mental health on yesterday, even when I was doing the sound check and so many of you came in. Mental health and corrupted psychology is huge. It's huge. Stay with me because I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. And I told you, I come from a little bit of a different angle. But mental health is huge. So when we get to this point of understanding those fig leaves or whatever it is that you're trying to put together that is your fig leaf figuratively, it's only temporary, babies. You got to get down to the root. Some of us will get a little bit of emotional healing, get a little bit of, dealing with our emotions, dealing with our psychology of our minds and whatnot. But we won't go deep. And sometimes to go deep, you're going to need to get some counseling. You're going to need to get some therapy. And as I said, I know God is a mind regulator. But at the end of the day, God has given individuals the ability to help you. Whoever it is that can help you, you can get some help. But don't try to do the temporary fig leaf solution because those leaves are going to dry up. And when they dry up, you're going to sit down and you're going to be exposed. So I want you to understand that. I don't want you to be exposed in a bad way where your corrupted psychology is manifested to everybody that's looking. All right. So at the end of the day, I want you to deal with your stuff. Deal with your stuff with permanent solutions, not something temporary. That fig leaf, that was nothing but a temporary solution. So then again, as I said, they heard the voice of God walking in the garden, and the next thing you know, they're out here. Let me see if I can move that over. They're out here feeling odd and crazy because they know what they've done, and they know that God is able. And listen, can I say this to you? God is omnipresent. God was with them when they sinned. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? God is omniscient, meaning he knows all. He knew when they sinned. His question when he came in the garden and began to talk to them really wasn't because he didn't know. He wanted to see what they were going to say. And obviously what they said showed that their psychology had been corrupted. Their minds had been corrupted. So when we see God and the voice of God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, Adam and his wife hid themselves in the presence of the Lord. They never hidden themselves before. And I want to say this to you. Do not stop until you are not hiding yourselves in the presence of the Lord. Do not stop until you are not hiding. I want you to get completely transparent and naked with God. Because that's the only way that you can really move into your created self. God had an idea of who you were to be when he created you. I want you to be able to move into that space and into that place. So that can only come when you're transparent. You can't do the cover up, the fig leaf cover up. It's almost like folks that do the cue ball swirl. That cue ball swirl ain't covering no baldness whatsoever. If anything, it almost it almost highlights it and makes it look worse. But spiritually, this is where we look at us trying to do the cue ball swirl in a situation to see if we can cover it up. So just purpose in your heart, God, here I am. When David said, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew the right spirit with me. Cast me not away from your presence. I want you to understand it doesn't hurt you at all to tell God where you really are. Even if it's not so favorable, even if it is corrupted psychology, tell God anyway because he knows it. But the issue is being transparent and becoming clean with God about where you are, which allows you to be clean and clear with yourself, with your conscience, with your mind. That's what I want you to identify. Now, at the end of the day, they say, listen, we were naked and we hid ourselves. And God said, who told you that you were naked? Because we've been going around all this time and there's not been any issue about you being naked. So where did you get that from? And at that point, busted. So, this is, again, I want us to be clear that God already knows. Confess it. Crystal Method, confess it. Telling God where you are, sometimes it can be super hard. That is true. That is true, Phoenix System. That can be true. But I promise you that that's the best way to go. That is the best. That is where we start moving out of the corrupted psychology because we understand he already knows. He already sees it. And he was there when we did it. Please understand that. He was there when you did it. So you're not hiding anything from God. David said, if I make my bed in hell, you're there. If I go to the uttermost parts of the world, you're there. There's no hiding place. I want you to understand that fully. But if you understand the love of God, you understand that you don't have to hide. You don't have to play games with him because he wants you to be transparent because that's where the loving relationship really gets deep. When you can actually be transparent with a person, and this is even in your natural relationships, when you can be transparent with the person and tell exactly who you are and where you are, you have just moved into a place of intimacy. Now, y'all can say, oh, we sharing bodies, we sharing this, that, and the other, and we're intimate. That is not intimacy. As a matter of fact, many times that is the epitome of loneliness. Because you've now shared everything about yourself with someone who could care less about you. And how do you understand the level of caring? How much we can share with one another in transparent? Who can you be real with? Who can you tell the truth to? Who can you really just be yourself with? That's when you're moving into intimacy. All right. So as we come on, God begins to talk to them and say, what's going to happen. And God said to the serpent, because you've done this, you're going to crawl on the ground. So we get that. We get that. And at a point in time when they used to have legs, and many scientists say you can look on the belly of the snake and see where they used to have pads, feet. He said, I'm going to put enmity. Now, this is the first part of a promise. I'm put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Now, truth and confession is intimacy, and his correction is love. Come on here. There's nothing was harder for you than talking to God about your state of agony. I think I cried for hours just trying to say it. And you know what, Phoenix System, God bottled all those tears up. I talked about that a little bit on it. God bottled all of those tears up, and not one drop fell in vain, but God cared about every drop, every tear that you shed. Now, This is interesting. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. And I will say, we're talking in the broader sense, but we know that the seed comes from the man. Nonetheless, I find it interesting that he talks about her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. First reflection of redemption that we begin to see in this, we have a promise that God's going to take care of business. He's not going to leave humanity in corrupted conscience. He's going to come and take care of it. Now, at the end of the day, unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt thou bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Now, I feel like here, God is just really telling her what's going to happen. Since you made this choice of corruption, this is what's going to happen. Your desire is going to be to your husband. And you know, some of you all, can I put it like this? Some of you all will lay your relationship with God aside to have a relationship with man and mankind. And so we see God here really saying, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be more, where before you were looking for me to come in the garden and have communion and conversation with me. You were before excited about me coming in the garden and having that time together. Now, instead of you being concerned about spending time with me, you so wrapped up, tied up, and tangled up with man. You're so wrapped up, tied up, and tangled up with humanity, and trying to develop a relationship there, that you've let your relationship with God just really suffer. So, you know, I want you to pay attention to that, and don't let that be you. Thorns and thistles to the man, the sweat of thy face, you're going to have to work. And Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. And then God made them coats of skin. Now, this is where I'm going to throw this out here, and I'm going to let you chew on it. Coats of skin, I feel in a lot of ways that what God did was coated them with skin. I don't necessarily, the Bible doesn't say anything at all, and I find it interesting, and you all don't have to come here with me, but I find it interesting that God didn't say anything about killing an animal. God didn't say anything about blood. God didn't say anything about any of that. The Bible just said he made them coats of skin. And I contend that the original man in a perfected garden, there were no germs. There was no disease. There was nothing negative. There was, because the skin is called the integral system, in that it holds the flesh together, but it also protects from all manner of disease. It's the first line of defense to battle that. Well, they didn't need that before. So they had what I would consider to be a glorified body, which is almost what Jesus had when he came back after he was crucified. He said, touch me not, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But then when he came back, they could touch him, they could handle him. But he was also able to appear in a room where the doors and the window was shut. And he left and disappeared from the road to Emmaus and appeared in the upper room. Now, y'all explain that to me, babies. Explain that to me. I believe that's the kind of body that Adam and Eve had originally. And let me tell you another reason why I feel that. Because they had to take care of the entire Garden of Eden. Don't you think the garden was 2 miles this way and 2 miles that way? It was a whole entire garden. So how did they get from point A to point B? I believe that those bodies, just like Jesus, when he was able to be on the road to Emmaus and then immediately be in the upper room and pass through windows and doors with I believe there was a demacularization that was going on. And I feel like that was the body that Adam and Eve originally had. And so he coated them with skin, and we don't see him, if that was a matter. So do you think Adam and Eve had a supernatural body ability? Yes, I think that initially they had an otherworldly type of body that allowed them, because if God told them to keep the garden and tend to it and watch it, they had to be able. God's not going to ask us to do anything that we cannot do. So I feel like if they were given the charge to take care of the entire garden, now hear me now, the entire garden, they couldn't do that walking. They couldn't do that riding an animal. So, at the end of the day, I do believe that when it said he gave them coats of skin, I believe he coated them with skin. Now, what happened when he coated us with skin? It took away that supernatural ability for us to transport. It took away that supernatural. Now, that's what I believe. You don't have to believe that, but that's what I believe. And I believe that's why Jesus said, touch me not, for I've not yet ascended back to the Father. But when he came back, he had a whole different makeup of body. And I think the body that he had when he came back is the same body that Adam and Eve had in the beginning. You can chew on that fat. You don't have to embrace it, but that's where I am with that. So he coated them with skin and clothed them. The Lord said, behold, man has become like one of us. Now, listen what the Lord says. Knowing good and evil, lest they put forth his hand and also take of the tree of life and eat and live forever. So the issue is they knew everything. As I said, they used 100% of their brain. We say now that we maybe use 1/3 of our brains. That's why when I talk about corrupted psychology, we use maybe 1/3 of our total brain capacity. But Adam and Eve, if you stop and think, they named everything that walks, everything that exists on this earth. They had phenomenal brains. So you use less than that by the end of the day. Some of us do. That's true. But at the end of the day, we see here that they had not the knowledge of good and evil. And that's what God was attempting to protect them from. Now, I said this on yesterday. So part of what we saw was man saying and acting as if God had deprived them of the tree. And that deprivation drove them to feeling like, okay, you're holding out on us. It looks good and we're going to eat it. So there you have it. Therefore, the Lord God sent them forth from the garden to till the ground from whence it was taken. Now, I'm going to go on. Where are we? Because, and that's another reason why I said I didn't want to go back and do the recaps, because it doesn't allow me to really stay within the time constraints that I'm trying to set for us here. So as we look, somebody give me a time check. Give me a time check. Where are we at? Anybody just type in the chat what the time is. So then when we go to the next chapter, what do we see? We see Adam and Eve having children. Now, 738. Thank you. We see Adam and Eve having children, and they manifest corrupted psychology, because Cain and Abel, we have now the story of two brothers, and they both are offering sacrifices to the Lord. But Cain killed Abel because God had respect to Cain's offering. Now, the thing that I find very, very interesting about that is that God said to Cain, you had the same, I've heard people have a discussion about was the difference between Cain being a farmer and a tiller of the ground versus Abel, who had a sacrifice of animals. And listen, look at what the Bible said. And let me see if I can get to that real quickly. He said, at the end of the day, you had the same opportunity as Cain to come on in here and offer a good sacrifice. So it's not about the fact that one was a farmer and the other was a herder of animals and was able to have the shedding of blood. I've heard that taught. God said to him, listen, you had the same opportunity as Abel. Why is your countenance fallen? Now we start seeing the difference between good and evil. This was not before, but now at this point, we have the situation manifesting that corrupted psychology says, instead of me coming on and doing what I need to do to be in right relationship in my worship with God, I'm going to kill my brother. And we still see some of that in today's times when we have our brothers and our sisters, if you will, that when we come into our worship in our place of fellowship with God, because they won't press in. And I'm going to say this to you. Stop giving people your oil. Almost like the 10 virgins, 5 of them were wise, 5 of them were foolish. Stop giving people your oil. There's a cost for the oil. There's time to go get the oil. There is an element of sacrifice that you've made for the oil. Don't keep dealing with folks in your world that don't want to make the sacrifice, that don't want to take the time, that don't want to get into a healthy space of relationship with God, that want to feed off of your oil. So please, please, please be clear on that, because you got what I call spiritual bloodsuckers out there that are constantly trying to feed off of you, but they have every opportunity to have the same intimacy with God that you have, but they don't want to take the time to become transparent. They don't want to take the time to become naked, and they keep trying to cover up and hide, but then they want to have the same level and quality of intimacy that you have with God. Stop giving people your oil. They got to do this. This is an individual thing. So please understand that. So Cain rose up and killed his brother. And so again, we have this corrupted psychology that says, you know, if you're not if you're not in the same boat that I am, and the Lord is receiving you, and my gift is being rejected, then I'm just going to do you in and kill you. So here again, we have a manifestation of the corrupted psychology, and we have the first murder. Now we get later on where Lamech does the same thing, and he gets out. And I told you all about epigenetics. We have from Cain killing Abel, then we have 10 generations down, I believe it is, when Lamech then comes out and kills somebody. And this is this is another area that I want you to consider, and you don't have to believe it, but I do. If you look at the reality that murderous spirit is a manifestation of epigenetics to me. That murdering spirit is a manifestation of epigenetics. Now, then at the end of the day, let's also take into consideration, and I'm going to get ready to get out of here. Let's also take into consideration that I also believe, you remember it talks about him when we get to Lamech, and even with Cain, they put a mark on him so that nobody would kill him. Now, I'm going to go back to my point about corruption of psychology. One of the all-time ways that forever and forever people have been able to get away with murder is by reason of insanity. I'm going back to corrupted psychology. I feel like these individuals in their corrupted state of mind, this is where I believe the first elements of mental illness start to manifest. And I personally believe the mark that God put on Cain and the mark that God put on Lamech, I believe was mental illness. And again, you don't have to believe like I believe, but that's one of the things that down through the centuries, you have been able as human beings to, I'm going to say, get away with murder by reason of insanity, where you done lost your mind. So I think that as we look at the psychology and the corruption of that psychology, and I'm gonna stay here because I'm trying to drive the point that what we call and get all hooked up in about sin is really corrupted psychology. What we would call stinking thinking, passion crimes, crystal method. In the heat of passion, you just done lost your whole mind, and there you are. And that has always been a point of mercy. It has always been a point of grace when people are caught up in passion, and in the heat of that passion, there is that ability to say, we're going to waylay what they did based on the fact of by reason of mental illness or defect. Now, so then what I'm really saying to you, because there are a lot of people that are in relationship with God, but their psychology is still very corrupted. Hear me when I say this. There are a lot of people that are in relationship with God. I'm not challenging your relationship at all, but your psychology is corrupted. That part. And at the end of the day, until we get rid of the stinking thinking, until we get rid of that's nagging us, that we're trying to hide and we don't want to confront and deal with, until we did, and that's all all Cain had to do was confront how he offered his sacrifice. That all he had to do was deal with it. That's all he had to do was deal with how he was offering his sacrifices and correct it. But rather than correct it, and rather than get himself in a place where he could transparently deal with what was defective in his offering, he rises up and kills his brother who's innocent, hasn't done a thing. So again, I'm keep coming back to this idea of corrupted psychology, because it still manifests long after people have accepted Christ and they're in relationship with God, but their psychology is still corrupted. Now, and again, we'll deal with the epigenetics when we get there, as far as Lamech and the man that he then murders. And again, what did I say about epigenetics? That trauma has been shown through science to transfer generationally. That trauma, epigenetics, has shown the ability to transfer that trauma genetically. So again, that's why I said we're getting everything worked out. We're getting everything dealt with. We're getting everything talked about. If I got it from Granny, if I got it from Grandpa, if I got it from Auntie them, wherever I got it from, I'm gonna deal with it. So that's where we are now. I think I'm at my time of conclusion. Let me see, because I want to be true to the time. Questions, comments, anybody that wants to speak. And again, I acknowledge everybody at the end once I start the teaching, so that I'm not jumping in and out of a thought. But I definitely want you to know that I appreciate you for being here. Crystal Method, good to have you. Disco Darren, Chef Nobi, CJ Manning, it's good to have you, my brother. Truck driver, come on here. Coming on up, Phoenix System, Shelly Thunder, John Studios, there's my guy. So much love to you, sir. Good to see you. DJ Aurora MD, come on in here. Stay lifted, that's my girl. Oh, let me say this. For all of you that have subscribed to the channel, let me stop and say thank you. I appreciate you. And for those of you that have been gifting other individuals, we have some that are gifting other individuals subscriptions to my channel. I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I know you don't do it to get recognition, but I want you to know that I appreciate you. I see you, and thank you for that. I really thank you for that. Let me come on up and see MCPA12. I see you, sis. So much love to you. I don't want to miss anybody coming up. Come on, Diva. I see you, OG Z Diva. I see you. Thank you for being here tonight. Let me see, coming on up, and I may have just butchered your name, and if I did, I'm so sorry. Stirs the soul. Come on, that's my guy. He stirs my soul. He really, really does. Let me see. Lawanda Baskerville, it's good to have you as well. Joanna G, so much mad love to you. And I appreciate you all's prayers. Nay otherwise known as The Rebel Inc. Thank you so much. Debbie Gibbs, I see you. So much love to you. Kai Chick, that's my girl. I love me. Listen, I'm going to tell you something, and I can't give her testimony. Kai Chick believes in boss energy. And I'm going to tell you, God has given her a blessing that is so off the chains. I can't tell her testimony. I might have her come on here one day. But when God worked this miracle on her job and elevated, I mean, a major, as she said, she's no longer support staff. She's in administration at the high level. When I tell you, God, y'all remember in the stream when she said 7 times she had gone for a promotion and they kept passing her over. But honey, but God. And like I said, I can't tell all her testimony, but baby, as soon as God did what he did and showed up and showed out, my phone was ringing and Kai Chick was testifying to what God had done for her in such a tremendous way. I'm so proud. I'm so happy and proud. And listen, it works if you work it. It really does. It'll work if you work it. Let me see. I'm looking. Did I get everybody? I don't want to have missed anybody. As Dalen, if I didn't say you, dear, you know I appreciate you. I really, really do. I hope I haven't missed anyone. If I did, account it to my head, not my heart, or I didn't see you in the stream when I scrolled back up. Now, again, we have Bible study every night, 6 o'clock. And Dr. Dady Priest, come on in here, Dr. Dady. So much love to you. Good to see you. We have Bible study every evening at 6 o'clock. And our goal is to go from Genesis to Revelations. If you've never gone through the entire Bible, this is your opportunity to do that with some assistance and some guidance in reading the word. So Job, we're going to get into the passages of Job. Job, as I said, is a contemporary of Abraham. Now, that being said, he is not. Job was an Edomite. Job was an Edomite. He was not Jewish. And so I want us to take into consideration, as I said, Job is one of the oldest, if not the oldest book, believed to be the oldest book in the Bible. And from the beginning, God showed that he's not a respecter of persons. The story of Job is an Edomite. And so I want you to pay attention. And this is the other thing I want to say. So when we look at the chronology of it, around the same time we have Adam and Eve being cast out of the garden and all of these things going on with them. This is where and when the story of Job takes place. So you see that almost immediately after mankind has sinned, we start dealing with whether it's Cain killing Abel, whether it's Job, all of my appointed time, I'm going to wait till my change come. We see the adversary immediately getting busy. And I want to put that in perspective so that you can know the timeline on that. Job is a contemporary of Abraham. So we'll get into that. And that's why some of the scriptures that you're going through are from the book of Job. And I want you to go ahead and start reading those as well. All right. Where we at on the time? I don't know why I can't see not near clock anywhere. Am I in my time window? I want to be true to what I said. 6:54. Okay, thank you. I want to be true to what I said and not take you over. This is a highlight that I want us to engage together, but I'm not trying to turn it into a 2, 3, 4 hour Bible study. All right. Any questions? Any comments? Any anything that somebody wants to share. Here we start seeing the initial fall of man. And again, I say it's the corruption of psychology. So I love you. If there's nothing else, as my great uncle used to say, all hearts and minds are clear. If there's nothing else, I hope has this helped anybody? I hope this is helping. I hope this is explaining some things. I hope this is giving you some insight into some areas maybe that you hadn't thought of or known before or even given consideration to. There's so much richness in the Bible. And I want us to try to get all these wonderful nuggets that we can out of it. So we'll be back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And I appreciate you. Thank you for enduring my stuffiness and my coughing and all of that. And I love you. I really, really do. And I appreciate everybody that's here. I really, really do. Be blessed and peace for your journey.